Bonjour, my name is Mae Ngai. I am a professor of history at Columbia University, and this year I have been a fellow here at the Institute for Ideas and Imagination at Reid Hall.
Hello, my name is Anocha Suwichakornpong. I'm an associate professor of film at School of the Arts, Columbia University, and I'm doing a short faculty visitorship here at Reid Hall in Paris.
Thank you for joining us today to talk about your work. It's very exciting. I wanted to ask you first about the film. You're a filmmaker, and you are interested in the history of political repression and violence in Thailand in recent history and not so recent history. But you don't make documentaries. You make films about events, but they're not really about the events themselves. It's more about how people remember or don't remember and the role of the government in erasing these histories. So can you talk a little bit about this interest of yours and why you have this angle, this perspective on these events? What can we learn from these things?
I think it might have to do with the fact that I had just left New York as a film student. I finished my master's here at Columbia, and then I went back to Thailand in 2005, and then in 2006 there was a coup d'etat, and that changed everything for me because I was really shocked that the coup was supported by so many people, urban middle classes, the educated one, and I couldn't understand. I felt like all of a sudden I didn't know my society, so I started digging into the past and realized that there was a parallel between what was happening in the year around 2006 and in the 70s in Thailand. And of course, it was like 30 years had passed, but so it was about remembering and not remembering the past, and that's why we were kind of going in the cycle, the cycle of violence, and that was my way into thinking about history, social history of Thailand, and also how that affected my practice as a filmmaker. Because prior to that, I didn't make anything political. It was really the turning point for me.
I see.
Yeah, and I mean, cinema, I feel, is something that is a time-based medium. It's very connected to the concept of time, because once you press the recording button, you're actually preserving time. So in the medium itself, I think has a lot to do with the presence, but also in that presence immediately will become the past. So it's like archiving material. Yeah.
So in some of your films, the characters are in the present or in our time, but they are talking about something that happened in the past, or they are trying to grapple with or enact something that happened in the past. So is that why you focus on these actors or these characters and not so much the event in the past? I mean, I find it interesting that we're learning about this massacre from the 1970s, but we don't actually learn a lot of details about it. It's more how these other people in our present are struggling with that, or maybe not even struggling with it.
Yeah, for me, film is what it can do is it can ignite an interest in something. I don't think it's necessarily an educational tool, and so I feel it has to do with igniting an interest and opening up some way of thinking, and hopefully the audience then can, once they come out of the movie, they will, if they didn't know about the incident that happened, that kind of in the background of the film, then they will go on the internet or something to find out more about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also I have to say that this film that you're referring to came out in 2016 in Thailand and other countries, and it had to do with the political climate of the time in Thailand. People were not really being like when they were not protesting. It was like a period of a kind of apathy, feeling of the sense of apathy. I have to say, a few years after that, the situation changed very quickly. The youth movement in Thailand started, and so it was kind of again, like I said, it's archiving the mood, the public mood of the time.
Right.
As well.
So that film, for anybody who's interested, is called By the Time It Gets Dark. But let's talk about the project you're working on now, which is also about another instance of political repression and violence, for which there was no real accounting. And you're creating a film about a trial, but it's a trial that did not take place, right? You are imagining this trial. So can you talk a little bit about this trial that you're working on now?
Yeah, so in 2010, there was huge protests in central Bangkok, and the protesters were coming from the countryside mostly, and they were kind of working class and calling for real political reform, but actually their demand was very basic. They were calling for the prime minister to resign, and he was not actually elected, so he was installed as a prime minister by the military. So the protesters were calling for him to resign and have an election. So what the government responded, how they responded was that they cracked down on these protesters using live ammunition. And
live ammunition.
Yeah, ammunition. So 99 people died.
Oh my gosh.
And no one has been held accountable since then. So it's been 15 years. And in 5 years, the statutes of limitation will expire. So there have been many attempts to try to take the people responsible for these crimes to trial, to no success. And so I'm imagining a trial. And actually, to me, it could still happen. So it's not something that it has happened or is in the past, but it's something that is speaking to the future. So that one day, maybe if Thailand has real democracy, this trial can actually happen. And in the film, the families of the victims are taking basically the prime minister and the head of the army to try for these mass murders. And actually, interestingly, in Thailand, the term that they use to describe these killings, it's not a massacre, it's not mass murders. They just call it dispersing the crowd. This is how
dispersing the crowd.
Yeah.
With guns.
Yeah. And 99 deaths and hundreds of casualties.
So you are having the families of the victims testify at your imagined trial.
Yes.
So are these actors, or did you actually interview or bring forward the family members?
So everyone is playing themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm negotiating with the lawyers to actually have them be in the film. But if in the end, if they decide to decline, then we'll have someone play the lawyers. But the witnesses are actual people, real people. Yeah.
And how do they feel about being filmed in this imagined trial or this aspirational trial?
They actually were very supportive, and they're very enthusiastic to be in the film. I'm actually doing a sketch for this film in a few weeks' time, and right now I'm very engaged with trying to design a workshop with them and to see what could be discussed and we're documenting this whole process. Having the lawyer join the workshop as well as a drama therapist. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a jury?
No, and actually the jury is the audience, the people who will see the film. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does the jury have a chance to to vote or to make their opinion known?
I think, and also the film has no verdict. There's when the film ends, then we know what the verdict should be, and I mean that's the idea. The jury is us, and we can form our own opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Was it, you said the family members are very supportive, but
Yeah.
was it upsetting for them to revisit all these things?
I think they want to see it happen. They've been trying. Many of them have been trying for years to, have a legal case against the previous government, and so this is, at least, it's a rehearsal for them. So
I see.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to stage any reenactment of the massacre?
No.
No, not even with photographs or.
Well, actually, there's a possibility of using some archival footage. I didn't do that with By the Time It Gets Dark.
Right.
I recreated the
Right.
scenes. But this time, also it has to do with the fact that these crimes took place in 2010. So there have been a lot of recording materials, people posting on social media and stuff like
Right.
that. And so there's a lot of it, and so I think I have to be very careful about what to use or not to use.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in Paris now, researching for another film project. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, from what I understand, you're trying to dramatize different points of view about the coup, right? And you are interviewing some Thai political exiles here in Paris. Can you talk a little bit about the house that you visited and the exiles that you've interviewed here?
Yes. So this has to do with my other film, and it's one part of that film. So I can just maybe say a few words about what that film is about.
Yes.
Yeah. So the film is actually a critique of nationalism and the ways in which cinema or TV series, the media in Thailand has been using nationalism to propagate nationalist ideologies. So we have seen in Thailand the surge of war epics, historical period films that glorify the past, and so especially with regards to the period where Thailand or Siam at the time was at war with Burma, and so these period films or series, they always tend to focus on the heroes and the monarchy and how the kings and queens fought to save the country. And so my thinking is that I wanted to make a film that focuses on ordinary people who, in different periods in Thai history, they, by and large, are just getting on with their lives. And the fighting or the politics are kind of, something that was happening around them. And so I came up with this idea to create this character who's a fictional character, a woman who is an eyewitness to the collapse of the past kingdoms of Thailand. So Sukhothai, Ayutthaya, Rattanakosin, the three kingdoms, and Rattanakosin being the current kingdom. And in 1932, Thailand changed from absolute monarchy to constitutional monarchy, and so that was supposed to be the end of the kingdom. But I would argue that it hasn't ended. This system, the governing system. So in 1932, when the Siamese Revolution happened, the revolution was plotted in Paris by a group of revolutionaries, and so there is really strong historical ties between the revolutionaries in Thailand or in Siam and Paris. And as a result, Paris is kind of a hub for political ideologies, the dissidents, the political exiles from Thailand. They have been.
Were they students? Why were they in Paris?
Some were students, yeah, and actually there was a very important figure. His name is Reid Hall, and he was a prime minister after the governing system was changed to constitutional monarchy. He was studying here in Paris, and he then brought the leftist socialist ideologies to Thailand. And he, towards the end of his life, he was living in exile here. And he then also passed away in Paris. The house that he used to live in as his last residence still remains in Antony, in the suburbs of Paris. And currently there is a political exile and an activist himself who fled here to Paris about 10, 11 years ago since the last coup d'etat in 2014. And so he has the key to this house. It's a remarkable coincidence, so that they're both political exiles. And so I had a chance to visit this house. And
can you describe the house and describe your visit there?
Yeah, I went by myself first because I wanted to see, what it was like without someone leading me there. But I could only stay outside, and it was... from the outside, I couldn't see very much. It looked just like like a normal house. But when I went another time with the man who has the key, and we got to go inside, and it was very... the house itself, was transferred to someone else. Someone was living there for a long time. I think it was a Vietnamese woman. Who, and so some of the interior design or the decoration maybe changed a little bit, but now there's a plan to turn it into a museum or like a kind of like a center for knowledge, and I think they will need to restore the place quite a bit, but it's a very nice space. Not too big and not too small. There's a nice garden, and I think they're actually already planning an activity on the 24th of June this month. Yeah, to have a talk and so I'm not going to be here unfortunately, but it's a meeting of Thai people, and maybe many of them are political refugees, to meet at this house. Yeah.
So there's an organization then of the Thai community or the refugee community that is involved with restoring this house.
Well, this man himself, his name is Jaran Ditapichai, and he is an activist, and he was an activist since the 70s. He was living in the jungle for 7 years. He was fighting the government as a communist member party. And since the last coup d'etat in 2014, he decided to leave the country. And actually a lot of the political refugees who live here in Paris from Thailand, they're escaping the law that we have in Thailand, which is the lèse majesté law. So they were being charged with criticizing the royal family. And it's a very severe punishment. This law can land you in prison for 10, 20 years without bail. And so many of them fled to Paris.
Do they have official status in France as exiles or as asylum?
Yeah, some of them do. I think this man that I'm referring to, Jaran, he does. He has a French citizenship now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So France has been welcoming to these political exiles from Thailand.
Yeah, although I know that recently Canada, especially Vancouver, seems to be the destination
Oh, I see.
of the younger generation, the political activists from Thailand. I think in France, because the influx of political refugees from many countries.
Right.
Yeah, so this process is getting a bit more selective. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be one part of these 3 stories
Yes.
of different monarchies
Yes.
falling. So the focus of the film is not on Paris, but it's one part.
Yes, that's
Yes,
right. But I have to say that since I've been here, I start to discover more and more connections between the Thai political history and Paris itself. So maybe it what will transform the story in some way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that comes out.
Yeah.
But we can probably say that the film will not be the details of these monarchy declines, but more about how people remember them,
Yeah.
right, and how they observe them,
Yeah.
right, as you say, to provoke us to think more about
That's
how
right.
we remember the past.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.